Welcome back. In the last video, we explored the basic of AWS CLI from setting up users and credential, installing AWS CLI on Windows machine, and many more. Today, we are diving into a really practical topic, multiple AWS CLI profiles, creation and configuration. Now, let me ask you, how many of you manage more than one account? Maybe development, test, or production. If you ever had a constantly re-enter credential or switch account manually, you know the pain. That's exactly why the AWS CLI profile exists. They make switching accounts seamless and secure. Let's start with a quick demo. I'll run a simple command with my default profile. So let me create a default profile first. When you first time enter AWS space configure, it will create your default profile. We already discussed about entering the access key and the ID in the previous video, but if you want to rewatch that, you can go and watch it. Okay, so I have a two AWS account here, and one is a AWS Infotech. Here you can see the number, and another one is a production account here. I have added that. If you want to enable the multi-session, you can just click on this link. Like earlier, it was a turn on. Now, currently, it is showing as a turn off multi-session support. So here only on the right side corner, if you click, you can get that. So on the one browser, you can log in with a multiple account. Okay, so we'll come back to the PowerShell station. Now I'll run the command AWS S3 ls. Okay, so it is giving me the result that this S3 bucket is available in my primary account. So let me go through here in the primary account. Sorry, this is not a primary. This is primary account. S3 bucket. You can see here SITIC-demo 001. That is what created in a primary account. And in my secondary account, I show you that there is another bucket exist with 002 name. Okay, you can see here 002. Okay. When I say default profile, the default profile means in AWS CLI is simply the profile that get used automatically when you don't specify any other profile. It's a baseline set of credential and the configuration stored in your AWS CLI files. Unless you explicitly call hyphen profile or set a profile parameter, the CLI will always fall back to this default profile. Now, as you see, it is giving me the S3 bucket names when I enter this command. But now I want to switch to another account and I want to get the S3 bucket from that. So how should I do that? Every time I cannot keep updating access key ID and the secret access key to switch between multiple accounts. Let me configure one in front of you, which is called as a default profile, secondary profile. Here, you might be wondering, right, how AWS CLI connect without account name, because here we are only giving the access key ID and secret access key. So when you run AWS configure, you provide access key and the secret access key, and the optional is like the default region and the output format. These two value are credential tied to an IAM identity center inside a specific AWS account. So AWS doesn't need you to type the account name because the key themselves are unique and scoped to one account. The access key ID encodes information that lets AWS know which account it belongs to. And the secret access key is used to sign requests, proving authenticity. You might be thinking that does any value represent the account ID? The access key ID itself does not directly show the account ID, but it is linked internally to your account. And to explicitly see which account you are connected to, you can run AWS HTS gate hyphen caller hyphen identity. And you can see here, it is showing me the account ending with 4656. Let me cross verify that. This is the secondary account ending with 1472 and this is 4656. This is a primary account I had. Okay. So always run AWS HTS gate caller identity after switching profile to confirm you are in the correct profile before running any command or any script. All right. So let's create a new profile together. So to create a new profile, we just have to give uh, the command AWS configure hyphen profile. AWS configure hyphen profile, and I'll create here profile name secondary. It will again ask me access key ID and the secret access key. So let me close this one for the primary and let me open for the secondaries. And the default region here, I'll give AP hyphen South 1. And the default output format, I'll keep 1. Now, if I run again if I want to get S3 buckets from the another profile that we just configured, we have to every time we have to give the profile name to get the list. I'll run the same command AWS S3 ls, and it is giving me from the primary. Now again I'll give the same command, give the hyphen profile parameter, and here I'll give the secondary because this is my profile. If I hit enter, and it is giving me as I take demo 002, okay, and which is in our secondary account, okay, and you can see here this is our secondary account and we have the 002 bucket. So did you notice how the same command gave me different result depending on the profile? So as a best practice, use clear name like development, production, primary, secondary. So this should not conflict with each other whenever you are working on the AWS CLI. And never hardcode your credential in a script. Always rely on the profile so you don't execute anything critical in the production. Okay, profile aren't just for a basic command. You can use them with AWS SSO by using the command or in automation tool like Terraform CDK or even Python's Boto3 library. For cross-account access profile work beautifully with HTS assume role. Now let's talk about the important thing. If you get the error, like let me see here, okay, whether it is a case sensitive or not. Now I had given the S in a capital. Let me lower it, and we'll see whether this is able to run the command or not. Okay. And you can see here the config profile secondary could not be found. In my case, it is a secondary because the profile name that I had set was the capital letter. Now let me again give the, the command, and it is giving me the demo. So it is a case sensitive. Whatever the profile name you are using, you have to use it properly. Okay, and you have to type it as a case sensitive letter. Now, whenever you are in a doubt, okay, you can always run the command, right? So let me again run HTS gate hyphen caller hyphen TT. Okay. Okay, and then let me use hyphen profile second. Okay. So we can see whether the account number is changing or not. In yes, it is changing. It is showing me the secondary account number and the username is secondary here, and here username is the primary account to make the differentiation. Okay. Now suppose you want to configure the the default profile. Every time you cannot type hyphen profile second because it will not be a case where you are running one command in a primary profile and second command on a secondary profile, right? It cannot be. So how to set your current session to a particular default profile? So for that, you have to create a environment variable, AWS underscore profile is equal to, I'll give secondary. Okay. Now this is done. Now let me run AWS S3 ls command and we'll see whether it is giving me the default profile output or the secondary profile output. And you can see here it is connected to SI take demo 002. So this is how now this session is tagged to secondary profile. And now whatever the command you are using normally, you don't have to give the hyphen profile parameter to use the secondary account. And if you have multiple account, you can do the same whenever you want to run the command or you want to work on a another account. Okay, you can give third account, you can give the fourth account, whatever the name you have given as per the multiple profile. Okay. If you're using the CMD and there is a command, okay, let me go through that. Okay. Now if I run AWS ls, sorry, S3 ls, okay. Now here I'm giving the command set AWS underscore profile is equal to secondary. Okay. Enter, done. Now I'll give the same command and now this time it should give me the output from the second account. Now you can see here as I take hyphen demo 002 and now here you just have to close the session and it will automatically end. Okay. So we now already seen how to create and use multiple AWS CLI profile, but what if you no longer need one or even want to remove the default profile? Because as you've seen, right, whenever I'm not giving any profile ID here, right, it is giving me output from the default profile. So there might be a chances where I'm running something and it is getting executed on the default profile, which might be anything, right? So to take a precautions on that part, we just have to delete the profile. Now, how will you do that? As I already discussed in the previous video, the credential are will get saved in your default user profile in AWS folder. This is my current user and here you can see AWS folder is created. Now, if you open the config file here, you will see the data like whatever the default region is there for the default and the secondary region. Okay. So here for the default, we did not specified any region. That is the reason it is not there. And in the profile secondary, we had given AP hyphen south one. Okay. So here, let me close this file and open the credential one. And you can see here in the default, we have this credential set and in the secondary, we have this credential set. So now when we talk about, like clearing the default profile or deleting the default profile, we can give, how many profiles are set. We can get the list by using the command AWS configure list profiles. Okay, here there are two profile, default and the secondary profile. Now suppose I want to delete the default profile. How can I do that, right? I just have to go here and let me take a backup. Okay, copy, paste, perfect. Okay, let me open the credential and let me delete this one. Okay, done. And let me go to config and let me delete the default one. Okay, perfect. Now, if I here I had already set AWS configure, the secondary profile. Let me move back again. Okay. Now, if I give AWS-S3 ls, if it is connected to secondary, then only it will give me the output because the primary credential or the default credential we have already deleted. Okay. So here, what it is saying that unable to look at the credential, you can configure credential by running AWS login. Okay. But here in our case, we have deleted the primary profile, that is the default profile. That is the reason it will not give us the output. Now let me use the second command with the secondary profile and it should give me the output. So this is how you can clear the default profile if you don't want to keep anything as a default. Okay. And we have already taken the backup, so we don't have to worry about that. Now let me tell you how to remove the complete profile or any profile section, right? We already seen here that whatever profile that you want to delete, you have to delete the complete section. Okay. So let me restore the file again. Okay. Okay. Fine. So now we have restored the files, and if I run here now AWS S3 ls, it should give me the result from the primary account because that was our default account we had created. Yes, it is giving me the result. Okay. So everything is depend on these two files whenever you are working on a this thing. Okay. Now let me go here and let me remove the second profile. Okay. So you have to completely remove the section that only calls for that profile. Okay. The name and the return. So I saved here. Okay. And now let me open the credential file. Secondary. Okay. I'm removing the complete section. Save, close the file. And if I run here again, this will definitely give me output. But when I will give the profile section secondary, it will not give me output because now there is no credential. And you can see here the config file secondary could not be found because we just now deleted. Okay. So we already seen that how to configure or how to list all the profile that you have configured and how to delete name profile that if you want to delete only the particular any profile or you want to delete the default profile from the file. Okay. So like here is a takeaway: use AWS configure list profile to see what's available. Delete the profile by editing the credential and the config file every time. Removing the default profile means you must always give the profile name to execute any command and get the data. Okay. And at the best practice, backup your files before making any change so you don't lose important credential by mistake. And trust me, guys, this is very much important and you just have to rename the files so AWS CLI don't detect it. That's how without interruption we can configure the new credential in AWS CLI. You can give the date by entering the file name. Okay. And that's how you can create, use, and even clean up multiple AWS CLI profile. With profile, switching between accounts become effortless and you will always know exactly which environment you are working in. Before you go, I encourage you to try this out in your own setup. Create a temporary profile, dev, prod, primary, secondary, and run the same command and see the difference for yourself. If this walkthrough helped you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more practical DevOps and cloud tutorial, and share with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next session where we are diving into another hands-on AWS topic and we will start using the AWS command. Thank you.